basically I just took my phone, put it in this thing, which is Steadicam. Do you all know what this is, or have you seen one before? No? So basically it just, I can't use it now because I'm recording with my phone, but you would set it up on a tripod and then you turn it on. And you wait a minute, there you go. It's gone crazy because it doesn't have a phone, so it doesn't understand that there's no weight there. Oh, there you go. And basically it'll just hold that in position. Normally it's vibrating like crazy, but when it's got the weight of a phone, it will just hold the phone in position so that the camera doesn't pick up any of my hand shakes.
Like a chicken.
Sorry?
Like a chicken.
Like a chicken, exactly. Yeah, like a chicken. It's a motorized chicken for putting your camera in, so you don't.
Like in a gyroscope. That's actually the real term.
Okay.
That's the thing that they use in the planes.
I always called them chickens. Just kidding. Just kidding. Exactly. I think that's how they used to record old motion pictures, was just strap cameras to chickens and carry them around. The technology caught up, and this is the more humane version. So yes, I recorded it in there with this. And this is called a Zoom H1N. It's just like a little sound recorder that's highly recommended. It's compact. It costs like 1,000 NOK, which is pretty decent for this kind of thing. And I just placed it on the table in this time because we did it very, very quickly. All I really wanted to do was give people a single like short film so they can see it from beginning to end. Quality was a consideration, but not the top one, as you might have seen. So yeah, you just use this. Maybe I can talk about some of the settings on it then, if I can remember them. You've got the gain here, right? The little wheel for the gain. This is essentially the same as like ISO for a camera. ISO for a camera being like how sensitive the sensor is to letting light in, right? So in this case, you're saying how sensitive the recorder is to sound, depending on how far away it is from someone. You want it to be, I think, within 3 feet of them. So I just placed it on the table, which might even have been a little bit far away. Also, it's not ideal because they can bang on the table and then you're going to pick it up. And this, what we should have done is attached it to like a boom pole and held it above them like that. Or what you can also do is this is a lavalier microphone, and this you can plug into here, line in, and then I would stick this with some gaffer tape like under my t-shirt. You just hide it in there and then you get really good sound. And also ideally you would have 2 of these, one for each actor, or you would just like have the boom mic here and point it at the different people. This is not like an ideal boom mic. You would have like something that's called a shotgun mic, which I don't own. So I'm making a film with what I have to prove that, you know, you can do it. The audio is set to 48K with a sampling rate of 24 bits because at the time I checked how to do that, that's what they recommended. I'm not too familiar with that, but it's that's the question of audio quality. I think, again, it would be like sampling rate for an audio devices would be the equivalent of frame rates per second for film. It'd be how often are you grabbing the information and at what quality. So there's an equivalent for the sound there. What else should I say? We did 2 takes. We did a take where I pointed the camera at Modesta and recorded Modesta's sound just by placing this on the table beside her. Then we did a second take with Liam, moved the microphone over here and just recorded him. And then I cut it together to make it look like they were talking, which I'd never done before. That was the challenge, and the purpose of the exercise for me was to do something like that because I'd never done it before. But they say that so long as you don't break the 180-degree rule, the 2 actors will look like they're looking at one another. So essentially, it was similar to this, right? So Modesta was here if I was Liam. There's an invisible line between them, and so as long as I record on this side, when I cut it together, it will look like they were looking at one another, which they were as well. But I think like ideally, if you were to do this kind of scene properly and to take the time to do it, you would have 2 recorders, or you do the boom mic thing and you would record it with 2 cameras, so that you can get both the reactions, because obviously the takes I used for each of them were different. Okay, so I've covered the camera, I've covered the recording. I gave out a copy of the script last time for people to read. I'll upload a PDF of it to somewhere in case you want to take a look at it, so you can see how it started off. Essentially, you know, I'm sure you're wondering where I get my genius ideas. I was on a bus going to work before the first one of these meetings. I think it was like we met on a Wednesday and it was Monday on the bus, and I was thinking, just as a backup, I would like to have like some little script that we could film so that I can demonstrate to people how we make films. And I thought, how can I write something that people won't be afraid of their acting ability? And I thought, why don't I write something that has to be read hysterically, so that like the worse you act it, the better it gets. That would be something that's super accessible to people. So that was the inspiration behind the Koala Interrogation. I can't believe I'm sat here telling people that. All right, let me see. Talked about that. We talked about the camera settings, 24 frames per second, standard for film, 1080p resolution, because I can't edit higher on this laptop. On my wish list next is going to be like a better laptop, and maybe like a DSLR camera, a better kind of camera for recording. Those would be the top 2 things, and then also another sound recorder so that I can record 2 people at once. But the point I was trying to make is that anyone can make a film with whatever they've got, and so I thought I'll use what I've got and make something passable. And yes, like I say, some professional filmmakers have used worse iPhones than I have to make professional films. There's a film called Tangerine, which came out in 2015, directed by Sean Baker, which was made on like 3 iPhone 6s using the Filmic Pro app. There's also Steven Soderbergh. He directed a film called Unsane, which I think came out in 2017, and then another one called High Flying Bird, which I believe is on Netflix. Also used iPhones for that. He uses the Moment app and Moment lenses, so you can clip on different lenses to the iPhone if you want to use your iPhone for that. I should point out that what I realized as soon as I started using that iPhone is that the reasons directors enjoy it is because it's challenging, and that when they direct a feature film using an iPhone, they have like Soderbergh, I imagine he has like Hollywood cinematographers and the best lighting guy in the world to compensate for how restrictive it is to use something like that. It's very challenging to get good images out of something like that unless you're very experienced with cameras, which I'm an amateur at the moment. But it's quite nice to get the practice with this, because when I eventually get a good camera, I'll be really thankful for it, because I know what it does, because I know what this doesn't do. Okay, so then I'll go on to the editing software. This is DaVinci Resolve. The reason I picked this is because it is totally free. There is a paid version. I don't know what the paid version does compared to the free version, but this is more than passable to do any number of good things. Its equivalent is Adobe Premiere. I think that's the one you have to pay for. But yes, I'm using the free version of DaVinci Resolve. And even if you are a beginner like me, I've never used any other video editing software before. So I'm still going to recommend this, because as complicated as it can get, it's very user-friendly, very intuitive. It can do so many things, but you don't have to use every feature it has. You can make a short film with a small number of features. So how I learned this is I downloaded this from the Blackmagic Design website. They're the people who make this. They make very expensive, high resolution cameras as well. So I think it's part of their business model that they give you the free software so that you'll think of picking up one of their cameras, because it's like better matches with that. And you know, if you start to learn this software for free, then maybe you want to buy the paid version. So it's just the type of business model they're using that I don't really know much about. So I downloaded this. There's free tutorials. There's like a free PDF. you download like 15 different files, and it says in this one we're going to learn editing, in this one we're going to learn sound, in this one we're going to learn color, and so on. So I'll show you the various different tabs of this. So this is DaVinci Resolve version 16, which I downloaded recently. I don't really know what it does, all of what it does. But there are pages along the bottom, which conveniently you can't see. There's little tabs along the bottom here. We're in the editing tab at the moment. It's not showing up on the screen, but they're just at the bottom here. We're in the editing tab. Here is it's going to go very slowly. This is the special effects tab. In case we want to make this thing explode, you never know. This is the color tab. Yes, there's little icons, but they're not showing up here. This is a color tab. So, and let me show the nodes as well here. I'll go into what these are as well. But here you can see this is a scope for the entire image, so it tells you like the range of colors from light to dark in red, green, and blue that are in this image. But of course I made it black and white, and I'll explain how I did that and why and everything. Both technically and artistically, why I made those decisions. So it's a color tab, and then there's the Fairlight tab. This one is for audio. This is just the audio, but you can do any number of professional things with the audio that I did not really do. I just turned up and down the decibels a little bit, but I'll explain that as well. And then finally, you've got the render tab. That's just loading. And the render tab is where you say how you want the video to render out. That's when you process all of the stuff that you've made into the final short film, and you say, I want it to be this resolution, and there's various settings up here for like YouTube or Vimeo, like standard settings, or you can get very detailed in the settings that you pick here, the different types of files you can make and all that kind of thing. I just went for like a standard YouTube. I just clicked YouTube and said, make me one of these, and it completed in an hour, which is fast for this kind of thing, because the other things I made took like 3 hours. So one thing I should say, so of those tabs I just clicked, there was editing, there was special effects, there was color, there was sound, and then there was the rendering thing, right? If you were doing this professionally, each of these different tabs would represent a person's job, right? And they are forever learning how to do these things properly. There are people who are professional colorists, people who are professional special effects artists, people who are professional sound engineers, people who are professional editors. You can decide for yourself if I possess their skills. No, but like, my point being, if you were to wait until you understood this properly before you started making anything, you would never make anything. You just get going and learn how to do it better next time. That's it. I don't understand how else you would hope to get better. If you were going to read all the books and everything, you would never get done. Just start.
You learn by doing.
You learn by doing. And I wanted to start off with this one because it's like, look, I made something silly and I showed it to you all, so don't be afraid of doing that. That's fine. That's how we're going to learn. This is going to be like a kind, encouraging, supportive place to do that. And I learned loads, and I'm far from ashamed of this. I'm very proud of it. What else do I want to say? Then okay, so those were all the professions just in like the post-processing thing. Think about all the professions that are in the filming. You would have like a guy responsible for sound. You would have somebody responsible. You would have these actors learning scripts for like rehearsing and everything for a really long time. You would have a professional screenwriter, a professional cinematographer, a set dresser, props responsible, director, and everything. All jobs given to separate people in a bigger thing. But the interesting thing I find is that even in this tiny little film that I made very quickly last week, you see all of those decisions are still relevant. All of those professions are still relevant, even in a really tiny scale thing. It just kind of, I don't know, it just goes a bit faster, and you work with who you've got, and you do your best with it. So Yeah, same goes for equipment. I've said you can make what you can with what you have. So many people, there's so many people who are saying, this is the latest camera, you have to get this latest camera, this is the latest sound thing. There will always be a next one of those things. And you can convince yourself, okay, I'll start when I have that camera, or I'll start when I have those skills. No, just get started. Like that will always be there. And as for the technical aspects, as we just talked about, Ferdinand and I, like, unless you get to like a professional level with these things, the kind of mistakes that you'll notice, people probably won't even notice. They won't fixate on it. When we recorded a short film with Sam, he was talking a lot about like how his performance was, whereas I was just worried about how it looked. And then Ferdinand was talking very much about his own photography. We're all, more keenly able to criticize the things that we're responsible for and the things that we look at, whereas other people, they're not paying as much attention.
No, better equipment does not make better movies or better photos.
Doesn't at all. No.
This is the person behind it.
Yeah. And these people who are making films with iPhones, what they're proving is that they're really, really skilled, because this is a difficult thing to make good films with. It's all about the skills, yeah.
No, I was just reminding about a joke about cooking. If you heard about it, someone can make a really good takes really good shots, and like you need to have really good camera to do this. And then the guy eats something, and like you need to have really good equipment to make this food. It's not about equipment.
Yeah, it's.
How you practice your skills rather than buying expensive equipment. That's the most important thing. You use what you have. There is a big difference between actual image quality and quality images. Right? Work with what you got and make the best out of it, because practice makes the world champions.
Yeah, very well put. Yeah, absolutely. I think that it's something you'll always have to combat though as well. I was thinking like, if I'm going to make a film in class, maybe I should wait. Maybe I should buy a really great camera before I let people do it. But I had to, talk myself down from doing that. Okay, so now I'll go into how this was edited. Are we back on the? Oh, it's talking to us now. Let me go back to the editing page. All right. So this was the page I stayed on for like 90% of what I was doing. Up here we have the original clips and the original audio, as well as the music that I found. And that's all. So we have Modesta's take, we have Liam's take, we have the little koala thing that I recorded with a koala toy that I bought from Tiger and put in a houseplant. This is the audio from both of the takes. And that's the music I searched for, like public domain classical music, because I thought, how funny would it be if I present this as like a super grand thing. So this is how I did it. So yeah, I had both the takes, and then I had both the audio. And as you saw at the beginning of this, I just clapped, and then you can find that peak at the beginning, and you find that peak and you line it up with the peak of the audio that the phone is recording, and you just line those up, and then the audio is synced. DaVinci Resolve has you can select both the things, and in your case, you say sync the audio for me. It's never worked once for me. It's a very simple way to, it's very simple to do it yourself. It's no problem at all. That's why when people record films and they say take one and clap, so you can sync the audio later. Yeah. No, I never knew that either when I started, but you can just clap, that's fine. So I synced the audio of both of them, and then I cut them into bits. I cut them where Modesta had her lines, I cut them where Liam had his lines, and then I had Modesta's line, and then I stuck Liam's line in, and then Modesta's line, and then Liam's line in, and just chopped it up like that, stuck it beginning to end, one bit after another. That's where you see, here you have the video bit, so this is just the koala at the beginning, and then you have Modesta's bit, Liam's bit, Modesta's bit, Liam's bit. And then I put some of Modesta's bits here. I'm not very organized with my video, but essentially whatever's at the top is what it will show, right? So here they're separate, but here, even though Modesta's, there's still some video of her here, it will be Liam that it shows because he's above there. So anyway, chopped them up, stuck all the lines as they were, and then I had her saying her lines and him saying his lines. But the pacing is bad if it's just like, you stole my koala. How dare you accuse me of such a heinous act? You have to overlap the audio a little bit in what are called J and L cuts. I'll see if I can find the shape of them here, but like this here is a J cut, right? Because it's the shape of like his video and the audio coming in there. So his audio starts before he appears, because it increases the pacing and it links the chopping back and forth, right? Now how you do that is just up to you. It's just from listening to it and seeing what sounds good or not. But it's a sign of like bad films if they just chop here and there and here and there. Unless somebody is trying to make a conversation sound awkward, in which case they would leave that distance in. But I'm trying to make it sound fast-paced, and these people are furious at one another, so it's going to be a rapid exchange. So I've overlapped their dialogue a little bit. What else should I say? So yeah, mostly it's just their two videos. And their two audios there. At the beginning I've got this public domain music that I found, that's what that is there, with just a little fade out at the end, just to make it a bit more seamless. All you do there at the top of the audio is just drag a little, there's a little white dot there, if you highlight it, you drag it a little bit there and that will fade it out. These here are the titles. These you just go up to Effects Library at the top here, and then there's title. Oh, it's gone off the screen, but it says title there, and then you just drag in, this says L lower third, M lower third, so I think I just picked one of these which was in the middle, stuck it there.
And how do you make your transitions?
Like the way the text comes in and everything.
Yeah, or when you the transition to the next shot, or
like fade in and fade out,
yeah,
and everything. Oh yeah, various ways to do that. Well, you would find that in the effects library. You would click at the top left there, effects library, and then you find, I've got titles here, and this here, you can't see them unfortunately, but in the toolbox it says titles there. But then there's like effects, generators, titles, audio transitions, video transitions. So there you go, video transition it would be at the top. Video transition, and then you've got cross dissolve. Cross dissolve would be like one fades down and the other fade in and fade out,
what
right?
is most used in film?
Cross dissolve, I think, yeah. Or just like a jump cut from one to the next, maybe. Yeah, I think they say when you write a script, you should write, like a screenplay, you write fade in at the beginning. I think that's the standard one. You just fade in, like from black to fade the image in. And probably fade out at the end as well. But as you know, like maybe you can do like, I think it's called like a circle wipe or something. No, it's not that. But you know when you got like a circle going in, like in a cartoon, goes boo and stuff. There's various different ones you can use for all kinds of different effects and purposes. So let me see what else I have to say here. So yeah, so titles, they just go in there. Basically, it's just, I went to effects library, went to text, found text, dropped it in there. Then I would click here, then it goes red, right? And then I go up to the top right here to the inspector. You click inspector, and then here it says text, and I just type in Modesta's name. And then I select a font family, and then you find it there. So I found this one's called Nickelodeon. I specifically downloaded one to make it look like a silent film. And that just, it's the same fonts that you've got on your computer that come up there. So you just download and install a font, whatever, it will appear there. And then you can adjust the size and so on. But basically, this is like the timeline, right? So it's going to appear here, and then it's going to go away. Then Liam's name comes in and it goes away, and then that. It's very simple. I didn't do anything fancy there. I guess I did have a fancy one here for the title. If I click in the timeline, we can see it. It should appear. Yeah. For that one, I had it like come in there. I don't even remember the name of that. I think I just selected any random one because I thought, let me see what it looks like. Fine, and I must have selected it here. Would have gone to titles, and then text, and then look, there's any number of ways you can make it spin in or whatever. And then up here again in the, if I click here, this is the title, the Koala Interrogation, and then I can select the text color. I can make the text bigger, smaller. I can make it spin in faster, whatever. Always, you would just go to the inspector, and all the settings for whatever that box is are there. So that's that. So I've explained about the video, how I cut it together.
Do you have additional screen, or you work on a laptop?
I just work on my laptop, yeah.
Okay, it's not irritating, it's not too small or something.
It is, yeah. Yeah, I would like a bigger laptop in future, I think. And also it's very slow. Like this program takes up a lot of like processing power.
Yeah.
You can't really have anything else open, and the more I do to it, the slower it gets. So basically it was very important for me. I learned from making the last short film, do all your editing first before you start to mess with the color. Because as soon as you start to mess with the color, it like calculates things to change each individual pixel for every frame. And still goes, it's really slow. So I would...
It's like a building computer, but yeah.
It takes a very long time. Like I say, it took an hour to make the thing in the end. Just each frame, change all the pixels, stick that into the thing, and sync it up with the audio workers.
So you recommend to make take out the colors at the end? Or?
Yeah. Do everything you do here. The reason I did it, the reason I started messing with the colors while I was editing the last film I did with Sam was because it was the first time I'd looked at what I recorded on the iPhone, and I was like, this looks terrible. Please tell me that I can make this look better before I edit this any further. And luckily, you can actually post-process a lot, which is really nice. And I managed to make it look sharp and everything, and I was like, okay, great, what a relief. This is going to look good in the end. But then I was editing it while I was changing all the colours. I didn't want to change the colours because I wasn't so experienced at changing colours. I didn't know if I could do it a second time. So I just left it, and it was like, any change I did took forever. But this one, now I was up to speed. Now I know everything I'm doing. So, okay, I think I've said everything here. I guess the only fancy... oh yeah, so when I was doing the audio, of course I listened to the full audio, and then I really liked at the end that I'd asked for a round of applause, and Modesta says thanks. So I says, I know what I'll do. I'll put that in when I say, like, made in association with SAPS. So I just cut that little bit from the audio. So what you do, right, let me explain. So this is somebody's audio, right? I'm dragging it into this window, right? This window is where you preview the audio or the video that you just like, I'm going to play it and I'm going to see if I have any use for this in the timeline yet, right? So you just play it and let me see.
So whenever you put in there, it's just...
So then I'm going to come right here, set up the lighting. Oh, see, it goes a bit wild sometimes. It just does. If I could be bothered, I'd move the TV, but I think I'll just...
Is it possible to just...
Do you want us to move? Oh yeah, can you move the table? Yeah, maybe. Okay, so that's obviously us setting up, right? And so what you do here, right? So say for example, I'm like, okay, let me take the audio in here. I press I, that's its in point, and you see that all of this has gone white, right? And then I'll just drag it over here, I don't know. Say I want to take it, and I can just...
I went to the spa.
Nah.
Right, and then say that's where I want the out point. I press O for the out point, and then when I go here, I think I can just drag. Yeah, now I'm dragging the audio, and I can drop that wherever I want, right? And the point, and what I will drop is where I set those in and out points in that little first preview window, right? Same is true of video. You can just drag that in, or that one there. And I see I did here, I've set a little out point there, but yeah. anything else to say here? Yes, the credits. So the credits, you notice, scrolled up and down. Right, so see it goes like scrolling up. So what I did for that, I mean, there's many different ways you can do anything in this program, right? It's really up to personal preference how you use it, but I just typed in the credits here: Human 1, Modesta; Human 2, Liam, written and directed by Leo Robertson, right? And then at the beginning, so I think I just asked it to put that text like right in the middle of the screen. Then I move to the beginning and I go up here. It's one of these settings. Yes, position, right? Position X and Y. And zoom X and Y. You can't see it here, but there's a little button to set what's called a keyframe, right? So at the very beginning, I want this text to be at the bottom, right? So I click a keyframe at the position, and then I change the Y coordinate to drag it down, right? And I drag it down until it's not visible on the screen anymore. Then I go to the other side of this box, over here. And I click to set another keyframe, and I drag the Y coordinate up so that it goes up off the top of the screen. And then this program knows, all right, at the beginning of this segment, it has to be off the bottom of the screen. By the end, it needs to be up at the top, and it will just naturally move the text up for as long as you want. No, I think there's other ways. That's the only way that I've learned to do it. I mean, credits for a film are such a common thing that there probably is some sort of like movie credits section here where you can do it in all kinds of ways. I've just gone for a very simple way that I know works. Yes, okay, so then we're not going to do anything with the special effects tab, though what can you do that I have done? With Sam's film, that was the last one, for special effects I had to use denoise because we were using I was using a high ISO because it was low light and the image got noisy, which is the results of like flickering colors all the time. And so on the special effects tab, I asked it to take out the noise. But in this one, I just went straight to the color tab, and then here's the color tab, and basically I think, just for like this one, this one image, for example, you can choose any part of this clip. Everything that's appearing here is all the separate clips that were in the edit timeline. So every time I made a cut, it's put a different number and it's put a different video clip in here. And basically what I do is I choose like a representative image for a clip, say this one, because it's got her face, like she's the subject, this is the thing. And then here in the nodes, you run it through various different processes. Again, these nodes and everything, you can do this like however you want. Some people just do it all in one node. Some people run them through separate nodes. What I mean by running through separate nodes is like, this first node is the white balance. So in here, I balance the white color. I think I'm running long on this chat, I won't go too much into it, but here I would balance the white, then contrast, I would change the contrast of the image, then so each image gets run into the next node, and each node performs a new task and passes it onto the next node. And what comes out the end is like the outcome of all of these nodes that you've put the image through. And I think I just looked up a tutorial that was like how to do color grading basic and follow in DaVinci Resolve, just followed the way they did it. So I've done white balance, contrast, color balance, saturation, sharpness. Sharpness is the one I see that really gives the video back its quality. So that it's really nice to do that one because you're like, oh, okay, it does look okay. And finally, I thought, all right, it was the classical music that I found that I thought it'd be really funny if I did it like it was an old silent film. And then I thought, I bet there's a way to make it look like an old, like with the scratches and everything like an old film. That's such a common thing that people want. So I just searched in YouTube, like, how to make an old timey film in DaVinci Resolve. And then they explained that you use a film damage, it's called. So I just put film damage on it. So how did I find that? I went up here to the top, right, and I went to open effects, I think. Or maybe it was yeah, I think it's in there, open effects, and then searched for film damage and dragged the word film damage onto one of those nodes, and then just you can adjust like how much dirt there is, the size of the dirt, and how fast it goes on, just to give it that scratchy effect.
That is for the whole film. Okay, I choose like a part of it.
What I did was once I'd adjusted like the image for this to make it look as nice as I wanted, you right click the image, and you go to grab still, and then the stills appear here. So basically I had one still for them talking to each other, I had one still for this opening clip, and I just once I'd just done it once, I just selected like everything like that, and then I said apply grade. You right click this and you do apply grade, and it will put all the effects that you did on this image to all of this, and it was the same setting, and I just pointed the camera at one to the other, so why not just use all the same image adjustments that I'd done to that one clip on the whole thing.
How you say how make this this one you have on the left side? The settings, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just click save it or?
Yeah. Okay. So.
Because you put all this like sharpness and so on.
Yes, exactly. I put like white balance, contrast, all these things on there, right?
You want to save it?
You save it.
You do have it as a default or something. Like.
I think you can do that. Yeah. Yeah. I think you once you've got it here, these are the stills, of course, for this project. Once you go here, you just I think right click and then say like add to gallery or something, and then you can just do it every time.
Like, how you save it, how you create this one, you have not this single one, this like this on the left side you have. There's samples, yeah.
Yes.
How you make it?
How do you make the sample?
How you save it, like,
yeah. So
basically.
Yeah. So
because you tried on like on one set, yeah.
Yes.
And then you decided to use it on all the others. So
Yes.
You just save it like.
So I right click this and I do grab still. Grab still, and then these are my stills, and all the information is saved in here, and then I say just apply it to all the rest of this. Yeah, and then didn't do anything to the sound, and let me see if I get anything else to say. I think I'm done. What would I do differently next time, I think, is a question. Yeah, like I said, do all the color and effects last, because it makes it so much longer. I talked a little bit about the equipment that I didn't have, that would be good to have. Basically, I showed the script to people in the last meeting and said, is anyone willing to do it? Of course, if you were to do a short film, you would do some sort of rehearsal. You would talk to people about your intention behind the words and everything. And also, yes, so I was standing there and I pointed the camera at them and I pointed the camera at them. The standard one is to shoot over the shoulder. So I should have shot like over Modesta's shoulder at Liam, because I think that's the standard one, so that you show how they are in relation to one another. But as you can see that they're talking to one another. Like it's not a big deal. But I think that's like the standard one. So I wrote another. I talked to Liam at the Halloween party, and he had an idea for something. So I wrote something that would involve like a full class of people that we can do next time. But as you can imagine, like if you have a full class of people, say we were going to record this whole circle of us, every time somebody talks to somebody else, that 180 rule creates a new line between them. So you have to always, like if Martin's going to talk to Ferdinand, I have to record you and him from there. If he's going to look at Modesta, then the new line is there. I have to record that. So I would really have to like diagram it out and everything. That's what I would like to do next, because it's a bit more complicated. It's like a bit more complicated version of something I've already made. So that would be like a good step up. Thank you all for listening. Cheers. Do you have any questions?
So you used a special effect from program for that kind of stripy effect. That was the old film damage thing.
Yes.
And that's easy to drag and drop from your effects library or whatever.
Standard library, yeah.
And then you did the camera work, iPhone, same place, but you had her, you shot it once, and then same place, you shot the other one.
Yes.
Okay.
And then cut the different takes together to make it look like it was one thing.
And it's all drag and drop, is it, this program?
Yes, actually, yes, that's one thing I didn't mention. If I go here, they make the point of saying that it's non-destructive, right? So all the separate clips that I had that are stored here, nothing's being done to them. I'm just taking bits of them and assembling them here. I still have all this on my computer, that's fine. These are just different samples. And also what you can do, which is really cool, is if you decide, say, look at this clip. If I decide, it wasn't, I actually want a few more seconds beforehand, I just drag there, and whatever was there in the clip now appears there. So you can adjust your cuts that way if you want as well. It's just like a transformation of your different clips, but they're all saved where they are. Yeah.
And there are plenty of tracks for audio and video, as many as you like, I guess.
I suppose so, yeah, if you've got a better laptop than I do. Do as much as you like.
Seems like a nice program. It looks fairly similar to Premiere.
So I've heard this is the first one I've used, but yeah.
Cool.
But if you don't use like a separate mic, you just record everything with your phone. Will you have your sound
yes.
on a different line?
Yeah, so basically, in say this one here, right? Here's if I want to drag this into the timeline, I can drag the video, or I can just drag the audio. But yeah, the video and audio are stored in this thing. And if I was just to drag this down here, you see it's dragging the audio down as well. That's associated with that clip. So it's there also. So basically, after I had done syncing this clip with the good audio, I just deleted the phone's audio because I didn't need it anymore. And then I went to, if I like control click both of these, I control click both of those, and then I right click and I say, I think it's like link. Yeah, link clips, there it's at the bottom. Link clips, and then they're links. And then when I drag them around, it will keep the audio in the position that it was in. And it will keep it associated with that clip. Yeah.
Impressive.
Thanks, I certainly thought so. Cheers!
Yes.
Cheers for listening.
Is it possible to have a quick film again, just so now that we've got all this in our head?
Yeah, of course.